Namaskar. Welcome, all of you, to the second day of World Education Summit. This is the 17th edition of World Education Summit, and 16 editions have been held in physical locations in hotels uh, across Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Dubai, Bahrain, UK, Denver, uh, and now in this 17th edition, thanks to COVID-19, we are doing something new. We are having these virtual sessions, and I am proud to say that we are having more than 100 eminent speakers from all around the globe in this World Education Summit Higher Education Edition, which is happening from yesterday, and this is the second day. And we are doing this event on our 3D platform, which is called Avatar. So uh, we have a virtual 3D expo also happening on the field of education. So all the delegates have a experience of attending this event virtually on this 3D platform, both in the conference hall and in the expo hall. And in this first day of the session, uh, we have our eminent speakers here, and I can see that other speakers are joining in. And so I welcome our speakers, and I request our senior colleague Karthik Sharma to moderate the session. So I'm handing over the session to him. Karthik, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi Gupta. And as you said that it is the 7th World Education Summit, and this
17.
time it is
17.
17. Sorry, I'm sorry, I just missed the word. So it's 17th World Education Summit, and this World Education Summit has a great legacy. Initially, we had Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, former President of India, to be the chief guest of this World Education Summit. And thereafter, many country heads and many education ministers from across the world have been participating here, and also the policy makers and the institutes, top educators joined here. And it has become a great platform every year for the gathering of stalwarts and leaders from across the world. And similarly, in this opening session of day 2, we have leaders with us speaking on a very important issue, rather I would say a very important topic to be discussed, and it is about the new education policy of India. And in this new education policy, what are the opportunities, and especially for the best practices which we can discuss, and even we have global perspective with us here in this discussion. So this panel is of very eminent and very interesting panelists. So I would introduce the panel with you. Couple of them, 3 of the speakers have already joined here, and we'll be joined by other 2 in a short while. Once I'll introduce each of you, and then we'll request for the address. In this session, we have Srimati V. Vigneshwari, IAS, Director of Collegiate Education, Government of Kerala, with us. Professor Dr. K.K. Agarwal, Chairman of National Board of Accreditation, NBA. Professor H.D. Charan, who is Vice Chancellor of Bikaner Technical University, and Ernest Nana Ajay, who is Minister Counselor for Political and Economic Affairs in Ghana High Commission of India, and Ms. Nazuk Kumar, who is IAS and Director of Technical Education in Chandigarh. So, as we can see, the panel is of international perspective, policy makers and educators. We all have all of them here in this discussion, and I will start this discussion. And the first speaker I would like to invite, can we have Vigneshwari ji's camera on, please? My technical team can please connect. Okay, you are there.
Yeah.
So, hello, ma'am. Welcome to the World Education Summit. Can you hear? Am I audible? Am I audible to you?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. You're audible, but the thing is, there's a break in between, so I'm not able to follow what you're saying.
Okay, so I'm just saying that we are starting with this opening session of day two, and you, all of you, know the topic. It is about new education policy and integrating with best practices. And still there are some audio and video issues with Vigneshwari Ji's. So we will start with Professor H.D. Charan, who is Vice Chancellor of Bikaner Technical University. Professor Charan is handling Technical University, which is looking after almost half of Rajasthan, all the technical education institutes he is stating, and he is the one person who is very popular for doing innovations, and various innovative thought process is going on in his leadership in Bikaner Technical University. So I will request Professor Charan to kindly give your initial remarks, Professor.
Sure. Thank you very much. I welcome all the dignitaries in this World Summit. Welcome all. The new education policy has been talked a lot all over India. Everyone is talking about new education policy, and it is being declared somewhere that is has been talked from a very root level of panchayat to the school level to the highest level of the education, the higher education, academician, administrators, everyone is discussing about this. And very well, they are mentioning that this policy will change the direction of India, and not only a direction of India, but it will change the uh, direction. It certainly will give the direction to the whole world, and that's what's being called that it will be a very policy based on global thought and well-being of people all over the world. So when so many things are being taught, being talk of about new education policy, then certainly we have to see the depth in the inside the policy. What is about this? So this being thought that this can change whole scenario of nation, national development and development of the people, and to the level that they can think of the well-being of the whole world. So if see the content of this policy, I will not go to the restructuring of it, restructuring of the university, or restructuring of the apex system, governing system, because I think this restructuring of apex system or restructuring the university will not change much. It's only the content of the education that may make the change to the pupil and the pupil from generation to generation. And therefore, I look into the heart of this policy, why it is being uh, expected from this policy that it can make a change. Now, if I see the heart of it, the very purpose it is written, the purpose of the it's very education is written. The purpose of education is to develop a good human beings, for good human beings that which are capable of rational thought and action. Their conduct, behavior, and action should be rational, based on rational thinking, and thinking of what they are doing on an ethical basis. In the next line, it's again written that they should possess a compassion and empathy, and with imagination with sound ethical moorings and values. Not only in the purpose, in the vision also is written. And I have gone through the complete document. It's written at number of places in almost each and every paragraph, every page of the policy document, smart document, is written in one word or another. In the vision also is written that uh, it should have a deep sense of fundamental duties and bonding with the country, and have a conscious awareness of one's role and responsibility in changing world. Now, each and every word has got its own meaning. When I read it once, twice, I find the one word cannot be replaced by another. When with this, they say that it should have a holistic development of learner with the thinking that whatever he is doing, that should be based on ethical reasoning. And in the continuation, they also told that it's based on the knowledge with wisdom, not only simple knowledge, but should be based on knowledge with wisdom, leading to explore the truths of the existence and to attain the highest goal of the life, and that too based on Indian thoughts and philosophy. In other words, that is that they will learn about the liberation of self, that is the self-exploration. That becomes the basis of this whole policy. And in continuation to that, it is being written that they'll have a good knowledge and practice of human values. Not only simply knowledge, but a practice that is very important. And whereby they are telling that this education should be in the position to develop a citizenship with a global education.
Right.
And in other words, also number of places this has written that they should have an education where it's a talk of peace, tolerance, non-violence, that selflessness, and the work with values. I think these things are the major
Right.
part where it is education policy, which is talking of a global citizenship education. Now, if one paragraph clearly written that education this policy should lead to a developing and maximizing our country's talent and resources. For what? For good of individual, the society, the country, and the world. So this is a common where we are talking is a global education policy here. Whatever talent we have, that is to be utilized for a good for oneself, individual, not individual, then to the society, not only the society, the country, not only our country, development of our nation, and that is for the world. And therefore, again, it's written somewhere that says the person should not confine to the subject. There are thought to have two baskets. One concerned with the subject knowledge of the concerned person, whether it is reading, engineering, medical, arts, commerce, and the another basket is the full development of the personality. At the Indian
Right.
context, they were telling that we have a 24, 64 kalaya, 64 kalaya. So all the 64 arts of the learning from the human being is required to have. So this is something special about this policy. This policy has, in the beginning, if I see the very first, that page, uh, very first page where the introduction is given, there is written that the education is fundamentally for enriching full human potential. Three things are written in the very third page introduction. The education is fundamentally for enriching the full human potential. One thing. Secondly, the development of holistic, development of equitable and just society. The society have a equal right to each and everyone and justice to everyone, fearlessness, truth between the people, the trust between the people. And third, they have written the leading to the development of the nation. So these three basic parameters the education policy is addressing. And I think here these three parameters is finally will decide that this policy is not only meant for a one person, it is leading to change the from person to the society, society to the nation, and nation to the whole environment, not environment when I'm talking the whole world. And when I'm talking the whole world, of course, written a number of places about the environment, the right utilization of the resources, that's the air, water, everything.
Right.
And therefore, I think these three parameters we have to limit that how these three parameters mean. Full potential means The person should have an ability to live in a continuous happiness, not only happiness based on the events. It's a continuous happiness. When he talk of the continuous happiness, he should be able to identify his needs and develop a potential so that how that need can be satisfied by doing some service or doing some production, not in terms of the
Right.
package, but to utilize how that is can be used. And not only that, they'll develop an attitude to live with other human beings on the basis of equal potential, and not on the human beings of how to live in the environment. So that's how full human potential based on relationship, living with the harmony with the other people and living in the coexistence, not with the people in the whole environment, including our complete living, non-living things. And when I talk of the next thing, an equitable and just society, means it should have developed a goal for an equitable and just society, for doing work for the others. And when we talk about doing work with the others, the other will certainly will think of you. If you think of others, others will be think of you. So justice should be based that's available to each and everyone. We have to decide the goal for that, and we have to materialize the goal with the same goal. If we say, for example, if I talk of the health, then it should be holistic health. Health should not be purpose of maximize the profit. It should be based on the service. If I talk of the education, education means to have a holistic development of the person. It's development of the full potential of the person. And therefore, such a person will lead to the ultimately development of the nation. Therefore, these three parameters that
Right.
we
Prof,
need to materialize.
mute. You have gone on mute, Professor Charan. Please unmute yourself. Yes.
Is it okay now?
Yes. Yes.
So, so these three parameters, that's full human potential, equitable and just society, and development of the nation. These three things are very well written, and I think these three things are to be
Great.
fulfilled through this policy. As you know, we have a number of the system working in the society. That's the education, health, justice, production, exchange of the things, and preservation things, and the government. Now, education is the basis of it, everything. For all the systems where society will operate and ultimately nation will work, all every for each and everything, education is the basis. Because education will uh, ultimately develop a person who will be responsible for operating this system with full knowledge, full responsibility, and sense of belongingness to each and everyone. When you talk of the equitable and just society, that the society should ensure the well-being of each and everyone. They should have the harmony.
Sure.
Yes,
Right. Right, Professor Charan. I think the three major points which you have highlighted here
right.
are very clearly mentioned by you here in this, and I'll come back to you with more questions and more
Sure,
to take more views of yours later on in this discussion. And
sure.
you have set a very right parameter of this discussion of highlighting the major things apart from the subject knowledge, how this new education policy is stressing upon making a good human being, making a good society with more social values and stress on the relationships. And also the whole concept of life is to be given in this new education policy. Rightly pointed out. I'll now come back to the policy maker who is here with us from Government of Kerala, who is Director of College Education, V. Vigneshwari ji, a dynamic young IS officer. What are your views on this new education policy, and how do you see that? And your initial remarks, please.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. And I initially apologize for all the technical issues which I have to face and let you face also. So, this new education policy is long overdue. It has been 34 years since the last policy was evolved. And now, at least it's time that we change it, and it's a good step forward. But it has been all said well in the paper, but how are we going to implement it is still a big question mark. So regarding Our education now that it is moving from, as mentioned in the policy in itself, it's moving from rote learning to critical thinking, logical analysis, and everything. But will our education system be able to provide all this? Because I believe presently the education system is not moving in this direction, but right opposite direction is what it is moving now. For example, now the famous American astronomer Carl Sagan who used to remark whenever he enters kindergarten, saying that he can see a bunch of enthusiastic, curious kids sitting in the classroom. But when he enters high school or secondary or graduation, what he sees is a bunch of students who are ready to accept whatever is being taught. They don't want to raise any questions. They're just accepting inadequate answers. So they don't ask any follow-up questions. So our education system has rather destroyed the inquisitiveness of a child. We can see a child asking questions like, why do we have two eyes? Why do we have only one nose? And why do we have only one mouth? But rather in 10th or 11th standard, we are more interested in drawing a picture of an optic nerve of an eye rather than asking ourselves on the need for eye and how does it work and what is the science behind it. So this has been indicated in the new national education policy, but will we be able to address it and how are we going to go about it? And second thing is, since this topic is all about global best practices, I'm just reminded of the days when as a kid, used to watch American teleserials, and I used to like hope to have such an education system because what I saw was a student in sixth grade was able to select his own subject. He was able to select something in arts, something in science, something in humanities. It's not like Indian system wherein we are just compelled to choose one, leaving the other unattended. But here he was able to choose his own subject, and there was some activities in the in the form of book reviews, experiential learnings, which were like lacking, which are lacking in the Indian system. So, if this national education policy is like implemented in a way it is envisaged, that would definitely give a breakthrough in the field of education. And as far as our higher education is concerned, India is having one of the highest number of institutions. For example, it's almost around 20,000. But the number of students who are average intake in one particular institution is to the range of 300 to 400. And it's mostly predominantly one stream oriented. This in no way is going to help a student attain the holistic development or holistic knowledge. A campus is not something where one goes only for the sake of uh, textbook education or graduation. It's a society, it's a community as a whole, where a student gets to learn other parts of life because it is a transition from the school to the outside world. Are our campuses able to address those? Are we equipped to provide the student a better learning environment? Rather, if we see the other colleges in institutions in other countries like US or Japan or China for that matter, they have like 3,000, 4,000 students in one particular campus, which means a student is exposed to different kind of students, different kind of people, different streams of education, and they evolve in the process of learning. It's high time that India also follows such a model so that once the students, even now, if a student is graduated, once he or she comes out of her institution, he or she remains clueless, at least for 1 year. They get to take up jobs which comes their way. It is not as per their passion, it's not as per their skills or competencies. We don't give such sort of training in the colleges. What we are is we are just sticking to the curriculum, doing whatever is required. And this is how our system is. And hopefully, the new national education policy, if it is implemented in spirit, it would definitely address all these issues. And one curious student whom we have all seen probably would be Amir Khan in Three Idiots. And he is the one who used to learn for the sake of learning, for the sake of understanding things. But even he was named as idiot. So we need to come out of that mindset and accept everyone, no matter the question is dumb or something. We just need to create a bunch of curious students who are ready to learn, enjoy the process of learning, and in turn do something to the society, as mentioned by Professor Harsh teacher in VC of Bikaner Technological University. So these are the initial remarks. Thank you.
Right, right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Really great views, and there are in NEP there are various reformative points are there. They are focusing on reform, but how we will be able to implement those reforms is very important. And as you rightly said that, but I would like to say that all the great inventors were initially called idiots by society, but they were then proved to be great inventors. So you are right, and we should facilitate more of learning, a joy of learning to the students in this new education policy. Now, I will come to a very eminent panelist, a very important person to talk on this topic, Professor Dr. K. K. Agarwal, who is chairperson of NBA, as I had introduced initially, and he has joined now. So, Professor Agarwal, I will request you to put up your perspective and National Board of Accreditation's perspective also, and your ideas generally. I would like to request you for your initial remarks in this panel discussion.
Uh, uh, Thank you for the introduction, and I'm so happy to be a part of this very distinguished panel to express my views on the subject. The topic of the session which you have given here is new national education policy integrating with global best practices. Uh, when initially I learned of the session, I thought there'll be enough time to speak, but now I find the session is quite crowded with quite a few panelists. So I'll just take a couple of points. The global best practices, how this policy is bringing in. So I'll just take a couple of points which have been translated into this policy for implementation. First and the foremost is affiliation system. This country had suffered from a system of affiliation of colleges for last 125 years. As a matter of fact, this system was given to us by Britishers as a legacy of Oxford University, and Oxford itself had given the system up 50 years before we became independent. So imagine, we continued with 50 years of a British regime and 75 years thereafter to continue with the affiliation system. Now, this is a system which academically has never been respected in the whole world, because this is a system which is completely disempowering the teacher. You cannot have any good education system where teacher is not empowered. And in the affiliation system, the syllabus is drawn by somebody else sitting in the higher education office or the university office, and the sheet of the paper goes to the teacher that this is what you're supposed to teach. Now, what has to be the reason behind? The teacher doesn't know. Then the teacher teaches whatever he feels like the meaning of that piece of paper. And then the student writes in the examination. Then the answer book goes to a third person who neither drafted the syllabus nor taught the course. So he has his own sense of imagination, what the student must have understood, should have understood, and evaluates accordingly. So we have a complete disconnect between the flow of the knowledge and the flow of the credits. So this is, I feel, one of the very great contributions of this policy, that system of affiliation is supposed to be completely finished with in next 10 to 15 years, and we will all have either universities or degree awarding institutions, so that the teacher and the student can have a direct connect as to what is to be taught. Please remember, this is very important. I remember a story. Einstein taught for 2 sessions in a university, and in the second session, when he was distributing question papers, his assistant who was with him, he said, "Sir, you have brought last year's question papers, and you are distributing the same. Probably you made a mistake." He says, "No, no, I am right." He says, "Sir, but this question paper is the same which you distributed last year." He says, "Yes, but I taught the course differently. Therefore, I expect different answers this time." Now, that has to be the philosophy of teaching. How do we communicate to the student in spirit, not in terms of words? So, this is what I feel is a very great contribution of this policy, that affiliation system is recognized as a system to be thrown out. Second important contribution, which is in line with the global best practices, it's outcome based education. The policy recognizes you define first what should a student achieve at the end of the course or at the end of the duration of the course, and then work backwards in that direction. I, as chairman National Board of Accreditation, we have been practicing outcome based education for about last 12 years in engineering education in this country. But let me tell the august audience here connected today that outcome based education is not only for engineering, it is for all education. And as a matter of fact, going to the history of the world, the outcome based education was introduced in United States of America in 1990s by a school teacher teaching sociology. So it was not higher education, it was not engineering education, it was a school teacher teaching sociology, and she introduced outcome based education. And the philosophy is very simple. It says don't focus on when and how. At the moment, our education system says, when are you fit to join engineering? When are you fit to join medical? That's not the way they say to go about. And how many years it will take, that is our focus. Engineering has to be 4 years, it cannot be 3.5, it cannot be 5, so on and so forth. Architecture has to be 5, god knows why, and so on and so forth. But outcome based education says, what do you want the student to achieve, and then just certify whether he has achieved it or not. So two key words are what and whether. What do you want the student to achieve, and whether he or she has achieved it or not. So that is outcome based education that has been again focused on this policy. And another point, this policy for the first time has killed, or at least has attempted to kill, the boundaries between subjects. Otherwise, even in the 11th and 12th, your humanities, your commerce, your medical science, your non-medical science, these partitions are so rigid that even I used to say in lighter vein, not only your parents, entire mohalla is worried whether you got medical, whether you got non-medical. Could you get commerce? And the school principal says, because your marks are less than 75%, therefore you cannot study commerce. I mean, as if that's an essential requirement to study commerce. So this is attempted to being done away with. Every student will have a right to study what they wish to study. Well, they may take more time if they so wish to. They may take more courses, they may take more years, but they cannot be denied. Today, if you fall sick on the night of 10th class examination and reduce your marks by 10%, there is no mechanism in the country to make you engineer or doctor, because your 10th marks are less. Therefore, you will not get to study science in 11th and 12th. And if you don't study science in 11th and 12th, you can never become engineer or doctor. Now, that's a very unfortunate part to the younger generation, which has been killed away in this policy. Karthik, you can raise your hand when you want me to stop. The next point which I thought I'll bring in is, it is the multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity which has been brought into in this policy for the first time, which was completely lacking in this country. Completely lacking in this country. There was no mechanism that one could even think as to of interdisciplinary education. I was giving PhD degrees at a convocation, and I asked a young girl, what are you doing after your PhD degree? She says, sir, I am going abroad. I says, which department? She says, sir, I am in chemical biophysics department. Now, imagine a professor of this country having held responsible positions. I can't understand that a department in this country can be named as chemical biophysics department. Here, chemistry teachers will always be fighting with bio teachers, with physics teachers. Students will be fighting. And how can you have a department of chemical biophysics? I said, why are you going to chemical biophysics department? She says, sir, I want to research on why some children are not born deaf. Now, if I want to study why some children are born deaf, I must understand the anatomy of human ear. So bio is a must for me. I must understand how the fluids in the ear work. So chemistry is important for me. I must understand how the sound waves work. Therefore, physics is important for me. So I wanted to locate a department which has expertise in physics, chemistry, and bio, and therefore I chose this department. It set me wondering. That means in this country we can never solve this research problem because we will never have a department of chemical biophysics so far. So this policy is at least making a beginning that we can have multidisciplinary areas of work. So these are few global practices. I can go on, but I know the time is short, and therefore I'll prefer to stop here just by counting these 4 points. And if there's an opportunity, maybe I'll take little more sometimes. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Professor. And really, you stressed upon a very important point that how we can be a little less traditional now. Why things which are from British era are there? Why these things cannot be changed and cannot be changed for good? That is really right, and this NEP is focusing on it, and how it gets implemented. It's a question. But before we come to question and answers, we have one speaker from Ghana, and with great pleasure, I would like to invite him to share his views. And before that, I would just like to introduce him to all of you because he is will be giving a perspective on Ghana. And his I will just introduce him. He will share his perspective on the various facets of India Ghana cooperation with a special focus on cooperation in education sector. India and Ghana enjoy close and deep relations at government to government, business to business, and public to public level. Cooperation in the education sector is one such area which has the potential to take the relationship to new heights. And Mr. Ernest will elaborate more on that. And over to you, Mr. Ernest. Thank you for joining us, and your initial remarks, please.
Um, Thank you so much, and good morning to everybody. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for the opportunity given to me. And it gives me great pleasure to be with you this morning, and also to thank the organizers for this wonderful summit. As we all know, this summit has grown to acquire a formidable reputation as a platform that promotes innovation, investments, technology, and global partnerships in the area of education.
I think some technical issue with Mr. Ernest.
Is to share thoughts, perspectives of Ghana India collaboration in higher education with the key objective of developing a platform to identify and take advantage of the best practices.
I think as our speaker from Ghana has got disconnected. Can my technical team please check with him? And okay, he has joined again. There's some technical glitch. Yeah,
Hear me? Please, please. Can you
yeah,
hear
you're
me?
back, Mr. Ernest.
Yeah. Can you now? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. So as I was saying, my intention is to make to interrogate the educational policies of India and Ghana within the context of the SDGs and the Sustainable Development Agenda. All over the world, governments encourage universities to promote technological advancements by investing public funds into research and development and stimulate linkages between academia and the private sector. This is because the changing dynamics of the global world has created the need for global citizens that are endowed with keen awareness of political, economic, social, and environmental concerns of our time. Our interconnected world demands that we are not only people who understand our society or our country, but also we have a thorough understanding of other nations, other cultures, and languages. Tony Kirkwood, in his piece, Our Global Age Requires Global Education, clarifying definitional ambiguities, noted, and I quote, globally educated people are those who possess high tech skills, broad interdisciplinary knowledge about the contemporary world, and adaptability, flexibility, and world mindedness to participate effectively in the globalized world. Unquote. As espoused in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4, inclusive education is the overall goal for education that is endorsed by Ghana and also adopted by India in 2015. The purpose, therefore, is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The SDGs internationally agreed goals, so as the educational development agenda is an aspiration of all countries. The world is changing rapidly and transforming the models of the acquisition and use of knowledge. The above, perhaps, must have informed the framers of the African Union's Agenda 2063, titled Africa We Want, to call for an education and skills revolution to meet the human race needs for inspiring Africa's socio-economic development. With the African Union quite correctly placed a high premium on science, technology, and innovation as critical ingredients for achieving the Agenda 2063. Distinguished panelists, I just want to reiterate over here that the quality and relevance of higher education or tertiary education can therefore be summarized simply as its fitness for purpose, which I believe uh, the speakers ahead of me have alluded to that, and often determined by quality of graduates, that is measured by employability of graduates and the impact that make on society and the ability in general to provide solutions to developmental challenges in their country and the world at large. Therefore, relevance is very fundamental and indispensable in our discussion on quality of higher education. From my readings of the Indian policy and listening to the eminent speakers before me, I'm convinced that a lot of efforts and consultations went into the crafting of the national education policy for India, which is aimed at addressing the many growing developmental issues. It proposes the revision or revamping of all aspects of the education structure, including its regulation and governance, to create a new system that is aligned with aspiration and all the aspirational goals of the 21st century education. That is also included in the SDGs, while building upon India's traditions and value system. I was intrigued and very challenged with the issue of the policy, and I want to quote, to instill among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thought, but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds, as well as to develop knowledge, skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development, and living in global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. Unquote. This is very challenging, and I must say that anyone who takes this policy and goes to the point of seeing this vision must be convinced that India is indeed a serious country and ready to bring the dynamics and changes that the world needs to play. The new policy seeks to promote enhanced quality of universities, colleges, and to transform higher education into multidisciplinary universities and colleges, thereby ending the fragmentation of higher education to achieve the desired global impact. Like India, and indeed, as many other countries across the world, the demand for higher education in Ghana has been growing considerably over the last decade or two. In response to this development, new public universities and non-universities tertiary institutions have been established, while facilities in exercising institutions have been upgraded to increase their enrollment capacity and to satisfy international standards. Policy reforms have also led to a dramatic increase in the number of private sector tertiary education providers. Many of these interventions, however, had been guided by isolated policies and piecemeal reform initiatives. It is in this regard and to meet realities that Ghana adopted a new policy in 2019. So, as you see, there are
Right.
similarities, and Ghana and India, we share common values. We share a lot of things in common. And I must say
Right.
that the policy aims at creating a tertiary education system that is fit for purpose and able to respond to the changing needs of a learning society and a knowledge driven economy in the 21st century. The comprehensive policy provides clear guidelines for the ultimate structure, planning, development, regulation, operation, and all over governance of the higher education system. I want to
Yes,
say
Mr. Ernest.
that the
Yes, Mr. Ernest, if you just wrap up in a minute so that I can have more questions to all of you, because there are audience questions already coming in. We have 10 more minutes. Yeah.
and the similarities of our policies, it is important that talking about Ghana India relations and going forward our collaboration, I want to profile some few points that we can consider in our discussions. One, a concerted effort between our two countries to promote programs that prepare the youth. That is one. Two, that both countries should work or take accelerated steps, Ghana and India, to promote participation of girl students and women in advanced science and technology. And the third point, that higher education is becoming increasingly competitive, particularly attracting talent, both faculty and students. Therefore, Ghana-India collaboration will inure to the benefits of both countries in both areas, particularly student and faculty exchanges. I really want to
Right.
say that it is great we having the opportunity to talk about this. And as I close, I would want to once again thank the organizers and reiterate that we encourage deeper interaction on this matter, and which is key for development of our nation. And Ghana and India are on the path of cultivating creativity, innovation, as well as developing leaders that are capable of solving challenges facing the future generations. and in development of our human capital, we can adequately deal with the present and future challenges. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ernest Nana. And you have rightly stressed upon Ghana and India relationship and how Ghana looks after looking towards the NEP to build more stronger relations of the two countries and more human capital development in both the countries. Thank you so much. I have got questions also now from audience. So there's first question from you, Professor Charan. Um, एक question has and that question is about uh, just I'm just reading out the question to you. It is about the academic bank of credit. ये जो academic bank of credit का concept है, do you have any views to share about it? How it will help? Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. Actually, in this policy, student has got the maximum freedom, and probably he shall be the king of this. He will be treated as a king. So he has a facility to when to join, when to leave, when to come back. So time, everything can be decided by him. So that's where one bank is to be created. So whatever he has learned, that can be stored there, that can be accounted there. And if he wanted to use for some purpose, for some degree, if it's relevant for that, that can be used for that, so that nothing can go waste. Now, which institute should be eligible for that credit, which can be kept in the bank? Then national apex body will recognize those institutes. There may be national institute, there may be international institutes. So that way, whatever he is earning, that will not go waste. Simply the way, say, we keep our money in the bank and withdraw that money for some purpose, an account is maintained there. So similarly, he can have the record of credit he had earned, and whatever being used for some degree, some purpose, that can be recorded. So this is very much very good freedom, flexibility to the student, and that right way he will be the king in this. Is the center of the policies.
Right, right. Thank you so much for enlightening us with this significance of academic bank of credit. There's a question for you, Professor KK Agarwal. The question is, what is the major challenge to bring NEP on ground? That has to, what it has to overcome. What are the challenges and how these can be overcome to put NEP on ground?
Yeah, to put NEP on ground, I think the greatest challenge is change the mindset, because we all will have to accept that from the rule based working, we have to go to freedom of working. We will have to provide autonomy to the universities. They need not look forward to a piece of paper from UGC to start any change. They need not look forward to AICT to start any change. Then we have to give autonomy to the teacher, because it will be the teacher who will decide whether this particular part can be done online, this particular part can be done offline, how I can address higher level skills. Should there be really four questions in the examination, or only two are enough? So all this will have to be left to the teacher. And finally, even to the student, freedom to the student is coming in a big way, because now the student might say, sir, I am doing mechanical engineering, but my interest is to have two courses in music, and the policy permits it, and we have to enable it on the ground to have done that. And because the world has realized that unless the combination of subjects happen, things don't really happen. Stanford University is one of the best universities in the world. 2 years ago, they modified their BTech course in computer science to evolve into two 5-year programs. And first 5-year program is computer science plus English. So they have a 5-year program which is computer science and English. and another 5-year program which is computer science and music. Now, for all of us academics in this country to believe how computer science and English will gel together, how computer science and music will gel together, looks like a little a far-fetched dream, but nonetheless, the world now realizes that this freedom has to be there to meet individual aspirations much better. A student is very good in cricket. If he learns physics along with, I mean, he learns projectiles better. He'll become a better cricketer. Music, if he learns our ancient temple, I think in Kerala, where every pillar gives you the sound of a different instrument. Now, how those pillars have been designed? Now that's an architecture and physics put together. So we'll have to give the freedom to everybody. So everybody will have to exercise freedom, will accept freedom, and system will have to enable freedom for everybody. That I think is the biggest mindset change which we all have to take up.
Right, you rightly said, Professor Dr. Agarwal. There is one question for Vigneshwari ji. The question is that you have stressed on learning, joyful learning, and freedom for students. So basically, the question is how in Kerala you look forward to bring these innovations.
So, as mentioned in the NEP policy in itself, now the testing is going to shift from rote learning to only core competencies, which would ensure that the student need not mug up unnecessary details. And now, because the information, everything is available online, those details, those skills which are only required for students can be taught to them. So once the core competencies are taught, and when the student feels that whatever I'm learning is going to be of some use for me in some point of time in my life, that would definitely instill a sort of passion for learning in the students. If I'm learning, say, for example, the log, we used to in our physics chemistry days, we used to learn all these log book and everything. We used to by heart it. We used to read random equations. We used to mug up everything. So I used to wonder why on earth am I learning this? Because I'm going to enter into generalist field, or I'm going to become an engineer or something. Why should I learn all these things? If it is only for the sake of understanding, I can do it in another way. I need not get into it like do the rote learning kind of. If that is made understandable to the students, definitely the student would accept it. So as I mentioned, the implementation part is very trickier, be it Kerala or any other state for that matter. So it would take time. We need to put everything on place, be it infrastructure, be it the tendency. For example, it is bringing in a mix of different streams. The students might accept it. The teachers might also accept it. What about the society? What about the parents who want the students to become only doctors or engineers? And if I'm ready, if I wanted to do something in music, how am I going to do it? So it should start from the society. It should be all encompassive so that it is accepted and it is sustainable. So
Right, right,
sometimes
right. Right, Vigneshwari ji, thank you. A very perfect and apt answer. And here we close this session. And thank you for all of you for joining us. Vigneshwari ji, Professor Charan, Mr. Ernest from Ghana, and Professor K.K. Agarwal. Interesting discussion. I know time is very limited and there is a lot to discuss and a lot of interesting things to discuss. But with paucity of time, we have to close it here. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. We wrap up this session.
Thank you, Karthik. Whatever you have asked to Professor K.K. Agarwal, I want to add something.
Yes.
Our present system is based on mistrust. We have a exam, we put the invigilator. Over invigilator, we put the supervisor. On supervisor, we have a central superintendent. On the central superintendent, we have a central flying. So our whole system is based on mistrust. Actually, we are to create trust. Trust the students and trust the teachers. That's the
Right.
mindset we require. Thank you.
A very right point said in the closing, and thank you so much. And the trust is very important, and I think this new education policy will stress more on it. So here I close, and we move on to the next aspect of the event. Thank you. Hi, Shreyasi.
Hi.
Welcome to this, Shreyasi, in the World Education Summit, the 17th World Education Summit, uh, which is happening this time, but first time virtual. And hope you people from industry and from government and from education institutes might be liking it as well. So now I'm very glad and quite honored to have you here and have your presence.
Thank you.
And we from World Education Summit and Digital Learning Magazine and its Techno Media, we welcome you. And uh, I will now request you to address, and I just introduce everybody to you again. There's an exclusive session on reimagine your students' future, and this session, and we will have an address of Shreyasi Singh, who is founder and CEO of Harappa Education, and they are doing a really great innovative work in this country, and a name very popular in the education scenario and in the people in general. And I will request to start your address, Shreyasi, and so that we start with this uh, exclusive session with you on reimagine your students'
Sure.
future.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank
Jesse.
you for that. Sure. Thank you, Karthik. Thank you for having me, and congratulations on the event. And I hope it's been going well. I had a chance to listen in on the last 5-7 minutes of the earlier session, and it's just fascinating insights from everyone. And I think very progressive views from the senior educationists on the panel in terms of the mistrust-based system. And good morning to everyone who's logged in. As Karthik said, Harappa Education is essentially an online learning institution where we've put together a curriculum framework of cognitive, social, and behavioral skills that we think are so critical for the success of all of your students and all of India's students. And these are skills that we believe are very, very crucial for success when they get into the real world and at the workplace. With that, if I can request the organizers to present the deck that I'll be using for the conversation. I'll try and wrap it up in 10-12 minutes so that we have time for a conversation and for any questions that you have. Essentially, so if I can have the presentation up, please. Thank you very much. I think the bands of the sponsor is sort of taking away a little bit from the speech. I'm sure we'll be fine, and I'll be able to walk you through really the big themes and in what I'd like to speak about. I think in reimagining the students' future, and especially in a time like this, and I think I just felt like let's make it very seasonal. I mean, we talk about well whether it's the NEP, whether it's all of the ills moving from a mistrust-based to trust-based system, whether it's moving from progressive curriculum where there's much more autonomy for your students to choose computer science and English, as somebody said in the earlier panel. The fact is that the journey that we are all on trying to address some of the challenges that institutions as well as students and faculty face in higher education systems. The fact is we all also have to deal with what's right up ahead for us. And I know that for many of you, for many institutions and for students, the next 6 months is likely to be a very, very stressful time, given that placement season is upon us and all of the chaos and the uncertainty that the pandemic has foisted on us, and nobody really knows what's going to happen with the placements. And none of this is new to you. Of course, that we're seeing that activity happen, and kudos to everyone. Kudos to all of director careers and other people who are trying to get this done in an unprecedented manner in this way. But if of course, the stakes are even tougher this year. But if we could move to the new slide, I think if we were all honest and had a moment of introspection to say that there are persistent challenges that happen in and trends and themes that are persistent as challenges for us when it comes to this journey of taking students and learners out of the educational institutions and into the workplace. And as my next slide would show you, and if if any whoever managing the slide, if you could please move to the next slide, would show you that three kinds of things we're constantly hearing about. And I don't think this is news to any of us. The fact that our graduates are not employable, the fact that the very worrying can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. I don't think the fact that graduates are yeah, unemployable, I'm sure all of you and all of us have to wrestle with this. And this is sort of data that keeps coming at us all of the time. But I think the really interesting also point to think about, and this is not just from a cracking the placement season perspective, but the fact is this the middle number, I think, is often very, very challenging as well. Is the institution and all of you often and the learners make a lot of effort to get that first job, and then to what effect we've seen the students who get placed in college quit within the first year due to a misfit. And I think that's where the lack of preparation is something that we need to start thinking about, because it really is wasted time and effort on part of the institution which works so hard to get this, as well as obviously you were speaking about the curriculum and how contemporary and modern one can make it from a usefulness perspective. At Harappa, we have a slightly, and I think there are many, and obviously you have to learn skills. The half life of skills are skills that are current right now, especially on the technical side. But our hypothesis and our belief at Harappa actually is the fact that as things change, what doesn't change really are some foundational skills that help you be that help prepare you not just for the placement season, which is an important milestone that we all have to get live, but really to transition as a professional out in the world, trying to be successful and sort of reach their own potential, as well as to be able to embrace and go through all the waves of change and disruption and technology shifts that all of us are seeing through in such an accelerated manner. So if you go to the next slide, please. We think that there are many opportunities, and just to focus on different kinds of skills. And again, none of these are skills that you haven't heard about. I think over the last 7-8 years, this narrative has just kept getting seeded and built. I, I think a year like 2020 has just made all of this just sharpened, and for us to not be able to, I don't think any one of us can look back from these and understand what these are. So I think the need of the hour really is 21st century skills, because it will not only be able to help your students and learners get jobs, it can help them be successful once they get a job, or different jobs that they do, or whatever else that it is that they choose to do, and it will make them more resilient and prepared for the change that is inevitable and unanticipated, as well as anticipated trends, shifts, disruptions that happen. What are the opportunities that we feel for higher educational institutions to focus on is really on the next slide, and the skills that we need to focus on to the drilling down from this into the smaller skill sets that we need to focus on. So if you can just move to the next slide, please. And this might be a little bit tiny for all of you to see, but I hope you can see some of that. I think some core focus areas in terms of an opportunity for us to help our students reimagine their success in the future, beyond obviously interview conversion and things like that, which we're taking as legitimate success milestones and metrics as well, is about professionalism. I think we've seen that in if you speak to most employers and recruiters and line managers, is sort of just the basic professionalism and work ethic that students and graduates come with can be really challenging to deal with, right? And these are things that really damage them, and first impressions in the first 3 months, 6 months of their stint in their first job or in any job can be a very powerful impression that they make on anyone, and then struggle to sort of overcome if that impression is built and if the right behaviors haven't been demonstrated. Right to decision making skills when shifts happen, of course, on embracing and facilitating change, given that is a reality for all of us. So I think this sort of golden circle of skills are really opportunity areas for us to focus on, to reimagine and really enable and equip our students to be successful come what may, successful in any year, including a year like this, or any year of change, um, uh, or even of stability. If you move to the next slide, please, we have come up with, I'll just wait for the slide to move. To break this down, I think what happens with when people use big words like, or just big themes that everyone keeps talking about as future of work and Industry 4.0 and 21st century skills, it just seems like this sort of intangible, ambiguous, sort of cloud of skills that nobody really understands. Okay, what should I do with it? What should my students really learn? What should I really be teaching? At Harappa, we've come up with, what we hope is a exhaustive yet comprehensive set of 5 habits and 25 cognitive, social, and behavioral skills, as we call it, sort of neatly categorized in the 5 core habits of being able to think, being able to solve problems, being able to communicate effectively, being able to collaborate, work with others, being able to lead. And this is about leading yourself and managing yourself even before you get the privilege and the chance to lead others. And then, of course, each of the skills that come under each of these habits make up our 5 habits and 25 skills framework. And of course, no curriculum can ever be fully complete, and no framework can ever seem fully complete. But we do believe that this is an exhaustive yet comprehensive list of cognitive, social, and behavioral skills, and made a little bit tangible, breaking it down from the big narrative around 21st century skills and future of work and Industry 4.0. Using these skills, I think these skills are very important. Really, I would reckon to say that none of us, however many years of experience that we might have as professionals, whether we're building companies, leading large institutions, being head of faculty and head of departments, none of us can profess complete proficiency and mastery and excellence on these skills. I think we're all, I think as educators, we're first and foremost lifelong learners ourselves, and should be. And especially on skills like this, which you start feeling the need for some of these skills differently. So what we've done is these are foundational skills that will be really relevant to you in different intensity and different levels of proficiency and for different objectives that you might have in your career, right from the time you're 18 to till really you're sort of a productive individual in the world. And we've created a seemingly short-term and transactional program like the placement readiness program, to package some of these skills, the most important ones that you need from a placement readiness perspective, for a program for graduating the graduating class, and help them over the next 4 or 5 months to be able to do it. But really, it is the same set of skills that will be relevant for them through their lives, and it will be lessons that they will not forget. So if we were to go to the next slide, please, and that if I could walk you through what we think would be really useful for the short term yet substantial and important goal for you as an institution leader, as well as for your students in the next 6 months, especially for the graduating classes, to be able to get a job that, given that families are in economic stress, get a job that they need, but in that process also start helping them with skills that will be useful for them as professionals, whichever industry, whichever role, whichever function it is that they go in. Think about it, listening actively. A doctor needs listening actively. And first and foremost, a doctor needs to understand, for example, establishing trust. Defining problems, of course, an engineer needs it, but so does a marketer. So does, of course, negotiating wisely, a salesperson might need it. But so can a public policy activist working on multi-stakeholder sort of programs. So I think these set of skills are relevant for students of all discipline. They're relevant for whatever industries they'll go in, and they're relevant for all the jobs that they might want to do, not just their first job, but every job that they might want to do afterwards as well. So we go to the next slide, then it sort of breaks this down into the program a little bit. Can we move to the next slide, please? So, like I was saying, that the program that we've come up with, the Harappa PRP, or the Harappa Place Readiness Program, and its immediate first level short term goal is to help your students become the top choice of any recruiter on campus. If we can move to the next slide, please. And essentially, let me walk you through this a little bit. Essentially, that program which can run and is highly customizable to the need that you have, the time that you have, and the investment of time and effort that your students can make on the program. Modular elements of these seven modular elements of online courses, individual coaching. I think one-on-one coaching can be very, very powerful at a time when anyway students are lost, worried, anxious, not sure about the decisions they want to make. Should they choose the industry first? Should they think of the role? Is it all about compensation? How do they even make sense of their prior experiences, and how do they even position that? Expert-led master classes, and this could be from going deeper into an industry of choice or a role of choice that you need to do, the role of choice that you need to do. It can be instructor-led training sessions, peer group discussions, curated reading material, and of course, lots of post-course exercises. I think these are all of the elements. Each you can go with each or none of them at all. And the high impact online courses, we think these five skills are really, really critical for us to get this done. It's a skill of listening actively. If you can just give me a minute, please, 1 second. Sorry about that. Is the high impact online courses is the skills of being able to listen. I think we've seen that our experiences based interviews. Sometimes the interview is really starts off badly because the student has come in and they're so anxious, obviously, in any case, that sometimes they absolutely miss what is being asked of them to answer. And I think, and don't pick up clues. So listening actively is not just you just don't listen from your ears, you listen from your eyes, you listen from your mind, right? And I think some very, very useful frameworks, and listening is a skill that is going to be valuable for all of us and for anyone through their careers. Obviously, being able to speak effectively. I think that's a pain point that's well understood by everyone, and the impact and the potential benefits of being an effective communicator are obvious to all of us. Being able to think critically, and I think but that means just pattern recognition. Are you able to connect the dots? Are you able to declutter the information deluge that you have? And that we all are sort of sucked into right now. It's being to establish trust, a very simple framework on how do you even establish trust with somebody you meet for the first time. What do you think about somebody who you want to deepen trust with, whether it could be somebody you work with. What happens if trust in one interview got broken, and what would you do? And of course, leading self, some easy simple very easy and simple to apply everyday tools and frameworks for people to start thinking about their own performance, their own potential, and their own experiences. Honestly, one of my favorite courses at Harappa. I think if you understand and can do anything to heighten your self-awareness, everything else sort of flows in place, and people will then pick and build the skills in what they need to do. If you can move to the next slide, please. And I think in a minute or so, I'll stop so that if there are any questions, I'm happy to take it. I think we've automated a lot of the interview process so that people can practice. I think practicing mock interviews is just so important to help students feel it's just one more meeting that you'll have, and that you need to calm down and that you can get the feedback. And we use this for stages of or for proficiency levels, really, from attentive to exemplary, on these four key skills that we look for in the behavioral interview rubric that we use and that we've seen students find very, very useful. If we can move to the next slide, please. Just some feedback from we've been privileged to have already worked with some institutions on some of these courses and this program, and the value that students are beginning to see from these courses. If we can move on, please, from the next to the next slide. So with that, we come to the end of the presentation. Really, just to say, to help your students stay one step ahead, just to give your students an edge in the market. in the world. We believe that the Harappa Placement Readiness Program can really help um, your students with both the short term, mid term, and hopefully instill the need to, you know, build these foundational skills so that they're able to both grow professionally and personally. With that, I'll sort of end the presentation and very, very keen and eager to take any questions that you have.
Hi, Ceci. So I'm in the backstage. Ceci, are you getting my voice?
Yes, yes.
So I'm just listening, and I'm the backstage, just listening all the PPT, wonderful presentation. And there is some questions, Ceci, from the audience side. One is
Sure.
a question that comes from the audience that you are in this education sector, you are dealing with the industry experts, with the academicians, as well as the policymakers. So what is the major challenges that you are seeing right now in the higher education in current of the digital education and the awareness regarding the digital education? So what is the major challenges in to
Sure.
collaborate with to bridge the gap between industry experts, academicians, and the policymakers?
I think there are obviously, I think this is such a multi-stakeholder problem, and I think there are just, and not a problem. I think it's the nature of the stage at which we are in our journey towards moving towards and online towards online learning also being an important and substantial and significant model of learning. I think one big challenge is, and I think we all have to understand whether it's private providers like us, whether it's faculty who've had to change overnight and start teaching online overnight with almost no preparation in March and April. And kudos to all of you. Whether it's policymakers and how credentialing works, and how do you ensure. I feel like the first problem is for all of us to understand that we are really in the first generation of online learning, right? As content providers, as students, as faculty, as institutions, as employers, as the government, right? So I think the challenge is for us not to make, I think, very fixed judgments on what works, what doesn't work, without any of us right now sort of seeing all the possibilities, without us having empirical evidence on many parts of this problem. So I think the one challenge or the one consensus that I think we come to, that disruption or changes, and the earlier system of the formal higher education system or education systems which are largely offline has been embedded and part of our lives for so long that the journey to something else will um, be experienced differently for different people, and everybody will make a different impression of it, but not to, please ensure that let's not make very fixed impressions of it. I think a lot will change, and things will get better. And the first class of the whatever you had in April or May that you took as a student, or you had to teach as a faculty on online, is not really the only online tools that you will have.
Yes.
So much will evolve. It's like being at the beginning of, it's like black and white movies, right? And now we watch IMAX movies. And that's really what the evolution of any new format takes. So that's, I think, big challenge is not to lose hope and to have patience with the change, and to keep the faith that things will get better and this can be, and to commit to solving the issues. I think I think the challenge is first and foremost, because we are talking about learning and learning happening. I mean, that's the purpose of education, really, right? That people learn something that they can do or think better with it, is really the motivation on both the learner side as well as the educator side. I think on the educator side, the motivation to change a whole way of the way that you would teach before. And I think on learner side, actually, learner motivation continues to, I think, always be the biggest challenge. And that's true whether it's online or offline. Does your student really want to learn what you're trying to teach them? And I think that continues to be the big challenge.
And one more question: that will distance education will have the same impact as regular one? People are asking this.
This is what I
Is
meant by
that
the earlier
the same
thing.
weightage as
I
the
don't
regular
know,
one?
and I don't know, and in which course, for which kind of student, for what kind of skill, right? I think we can't make. I don't think any of us can afford to make blanket judgment on is one format works for like 220 million children in school, 25, 30 million people in higher education. Will one format work? I feel like one of the things that I've heard a lot from parents whose children were slightly more introverted was that they actually love the freedom of not having to deal with a lot of the social aspects immediately that come, and have some safety in being able to do things online. I think for some courses and some skills, I won't say distance, different formats can work. And also, I think we have to think about learning does not stop at 22 when you finish your master's, or 23 when you finish your master's. It continues throughout your life as you are an individual. And then not for every course. I think the real beauty, I think, for of online learning or distance learning, as is being asked in this question, is the fact that you can, there's some skills you learn for breadth, and you can't leave your job, leave your home, and go to admit yourself in a 1 year full-time course, and that can't be the only way to learn, because then from 25 to 55, 60, it'll be impossible for you to do that regularly. But as a professional out in the world, you have to learn so many skills, and then the convenience and the autonomy of being able to do different things is really important. So distance learning for whom, distance learning when, distance learning for which skill, distance learning by whom. I think there are too many layers to arrive at,
Okay.
and also we don't have the evidence yet.
So, and Ceci, this is the question that is from my side. So, what is the idea behind to name Harappa? How you choose that
Ah,
we should start with the name Harappa education? So, how this idea pops up in your mind, Ceci?
okay, that's my favorite question ever. Because of course, as founders, I think we love the name. No, but more seriously, I think for my co-founder, Dr. Sadha, and me, I think the one important thing for us was to have a name that was evocative of the cultural fabric in which this company is born, and the cultural fabric that we come from, right? Because if you're English language learning content, you know that you can go beyond India pretty quickly. But we felt whether it was a learner in hopefully in the US, UK, Singapore, Dubai, anywhere, who might take a Harappa course, the fact that the company is born of this cultural heritage was really important for us. I think the three attributes of the old Harappa civilization that really called out to us, and that we want to feel like we're building our
Hmm.
Harappa to those attributes. It's one, the spirit of being a pioneering civilization, right? This was a old civilization at that time in the world. It was a pioneering civilization for many things: sanitation, urban planning, the council elders, an administrative system, and we feel we're a pioneering. We hope our mission and purpose is to build a pioneering learning institution at the intersection of technology, cognitive skills, and leading to learner success and impact. So pioneering was a very important element. Second was foundational. We talked about these being foundational skills, and the foundations of that civilization were also very strong. And we feel we want our learners to have a strong foundation on which to build their success on. And last was the fact that there's a timelessness and an enduring quality to Harappa, right? We've all,
Okay.
it's such an old civilization, but we all have a memory of it by studying it. And we hopefully our Harappa will also last for years and centuries, and be a timeless, enduring institution.
And Ceci, one more question to you, that you have focused, Harappa education have focused much more on the 21st century skills and the habits. So, what is the
Yes.
major ideas that you have said that we have to major focus on the skills is due to the change in the technology, or the how people can judge that in the future technology, this technology will come and we have to work on these skills. So, how this idea evolved that we have to work on the 21st century skills, because you have taken so much
Actually,
stress on that.
yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
actually, we're not interested beyond a point in anyway, any technology changes in 5 years is what we're seeing,
Yes.
right? Which means you can't, you, of course, you'll have to train yourself for that technology if you're working in that
Hmm.
field which has gotten whatever, and you'll have to learn. But really, throughout your life, I think our framework, we said these are skills which will never go out of style, or which or these are human skills which you will always need. You'll always need a way for whatever information is coming to you to think about it critically. You'll always, hopefully, will always need this ability to interact with each other where we have to speak to each other, right? We will always need to build trust. So in our case, our focus on 21st century skills is not because technology has made them more relevant. That's also true. I think we really believe in a curriculum because we feel whatever technology comes, the fact of these basic foundational human skills will continue to be important.
Right. So thank you, Ceci. Thank you very much for giving your precious time. So I request all my audience, if you have any question, you can follow Ceci on the social handles, and you can take all the question offline as well. And if you want to know more about the Harappa education, so we have our Harappa booth, and Harappa team is available. They can give you any solution regarding the Harappa education. So, Ceci, thank
Thank
you very much, and the best wishes for this Harappa education to give all the borders solutions. Thank you, Ceci, for coming in World
thank,
Education Summit.
thank you so
So,
much. Thank you, Elas, and
thank,
everyone.
thank you. So, I request Deepak to put on the AV so that we can move on to the next panel. And our next speaker will be the Praveen Kumar, the Field Marketing Consultant Client Solution Group from the Dell Technologies. So I request Deepak, we will start have an exclusive session with the Praveen Kumar. So before that, can you give 1 minute video to all the exclusive audience of this World Education Summit? Then we will get back to the Praveen Kumar. Welcome to our next session. So we have Mr. Praveen Kumar, Field Marketing Consultant, Client Solution Group from Dell Technologies. So Praveen sir, hi, welcome Praveen sir, namaste sir. Welcome to the 17th World Education Summit. So I request all the audience to stay for the exclusive session for the Dell Technologies with the dynamic personality from the Praveen Kumar, who will explore the innovations and the initiative that has been taken by the Dell Technologies in the higher education domain. So Praveen sir, so next 15 to 20 minutes is over to you to explore all the innovation that we will come. Then after that, we will come to the Q&A section. And I request all the audience, if you have any questions, you directly put us. We will take all the questions live with the Praveen sir. Over to you, Praveen sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abhishek. And
Thank
I hope my audio is loud and clear for everybody to see. And I'm visible on the screen, right? So
Yes, yes,
yeah. So I'm going to share my screen quickly and just quick comms check if you guys are able to see.
yes. We are able to see, sir, Praveen sir, clear and loud.
Awesome. Thank you. So, and my presentation is also visible.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much for presenting this great opportunity to talk to you guys today. I think it's pretty much a challenging situations, and we all are praying to come back from this. I'm more excited the way technology has been incorporated in several institutions. I think this needed that great push, despite the negative effects of the pandemic. There is a lot of positive sides of technology adoptions, which is happening in the corporate world. It's happening in the learning environment also. I'm going to take some time today to explain to you what's happening. What are the technologies available today at your disposal? What do you need to clearly think about while you implement some solutions in your organizations? So we will talk about the key strategies for what we call it as a flexible learning solutions. Mind you, it's no longer remote learning solutions. You've got to enter into a new era where you move from a fixed to a remote, now to a more flexible solutions. Tomorrow, industry experts say when the pandemic comes again, you may have to be ready once again. There is just a one virus. There could be another wave. There could be something in the future. We have to be prepared for it. And technology is a boon for us. So we call this a flexible learning solutions. Right? Look, three key things which we thought we will highlight about a lot in terms of in your readiness and preparedness, right, for a seamless learning solutions. One is the deployment strategy. How are we going to get this technology deployed? Two is security, and three is about the support systems. Now, it's good to have devices, but as an organization, as an institutions, do you need to really invest on support systems? We say no. How do you get adapted to that? Now, if you really look into the traditional deployment which is happening, you might have placed an order, and then you bring all the PCs or laptops or devices, whatever you bring it to your office premises or your school premises. You install all your applications into it, and then you pack it back again. Maybe you have dispatched it to each and every student or every parent or wherever it is across, or you come and ask them to collect it back. They open it and then they use it again. So that's the traditional deployment. A lot of interim process, multi-touch points. But what industry is looking at today is to cut all the layers in between, get you to a modern deployment process. The modern deployment process says, hey, you place an order today. The PC manufacturers or the device manufacturers has capacity to ship it out directly to you, the end user. It could be a student, could be a professor or an administrator, wherever he's based out of. And when he presses the button, what you want him to see, what are the applications he needs to use, what kind of access level, grants level, everything is ready from the word go. All he needs to do is put in his domain ID and password. That's about it. That's the modern deployment process. Industry has a lot of automation technologies to get this done on the back end, on the cloud, or at the factory itself. You can send your applications to our factory, the custom applications which you want to burn it. We will burn it in the factory and then directly ship it to the end user. Makes your job easier. And as an educational institution, you can actually focus on your core strength rather than investing on folks to govern or manage the IT part of it. Now, most importantly, you need to have a support process. You could possibly have one or two persons, managing this. How many of you have already faced this? That students call out issues in their PCs, issues in their devices. They're unable to take classes. They're unable to take exams from them because their devices is not working. Of course, they're not going to be IT proficient to manage that support level issues. And you would probably not have the flexibility to man all these pieces. So you'd need a trusted partner who would give you an automated solution, self-healing and proactive solutions, where you could diagnose a problem upfront, get it resolved. You don't have any manual intervention in this whole thing. Most importantly, when you're enabling technology to students and faculty members, security is absolutely key. So the amount of data which is being collected today in this world is phenomenal. Everybody wants to gain access. Now, you may be wondering why security for an education. It's absolutely important. You don't want unwanted professionals to peek into what you're learning, peek into what they're doing, collect everything what they're doing, and probably one point of time they even hijack your entire platform, right? So if you realize, industry experts have always called this out. 99.9% of the threats or security issues originate from the endpoint devices, from your laptop, from your desktops, at your mobile phones, whatever tablets or devices, etc. Right? Now, user behavior cannot be restricted. You need to imbibe automated solutions to detect, prevent, and respond to threats. And of course, it's very difficult to invest on security features. Now, you should also look at not just about implementing a security software or a management solution, but also look at what are the devices having security as. In case you had to have an ID and password, you want to enable technologies like facial recognition in some of your institutions, you need to have inbuilt hardware level security to protect your BIOS, to protect your ID. Also, try and have enablement in terms of digital privacy screen, because this is going to be a flexible solution. Tomorrow, when you're traveling, you don't want somebody else to look into your notebook. We also have already entered an era of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, machine learning and artificial intelligence in your PCs today gives you more and more productivity. That's the key, right? Why would machine learning come into this? Every user or every student, every faculty is unique. He would probably use the system in a different way than another person is using. So artificial intelligence and machine learning today understands how the user uses his device, what kind of resources he needs, how much memory, how much of computing capacity, and so on and so forth, and gives him everything, tunes the application to that. When you start this and start using this, probably in about 2 weeks' time, you'll suddenly see that systems are more responsive. They're not hanging. They're not taking so much of battery backup. They're more responsive. They work more flexibly well, responding to the user's demand. Audio solutions is absolutely key. You need to have now a conference type solution, conference room, meeting room, or a classroom kind of solutions. So technologies such as Wave Max Audio Pro, they help you to cancel noise, reduce echoes, gives you the best-in-class volume output, also seamless, digital mic arrays, and so on and so forth. So having technologies on audio and video is also absolutely key. It's just not about the device, because you need to have clarity as well. Most importantly, we highly recommend you to talk to any strategist who's an expert and a domain expert on that particular field. One vendor who could actually collaborate all the solutions together. Trust on that partner. If you're going to imbibe Google solutions, Google Classrooms, or Microsoft Classrooms, or any other solutions from an independent software vendor, you'll need to also talk to the hardware vendor and see if he or she can incorporate everything at one box solution, out of the box, immediate readiness. So that's very, very important. Somebody who can support, somebody who can help, empower you with various technologies, advocate for your technology innovations, also give you the ideas to market it, develop and define how the roles the technology needs to play in your organization, customize. Everybody has different requirements and different use case scenarios. Not one size fits all institutions, of course. So bank on one trusted partner, somebody like Dell Technologies, who can give you an end-to-end expertise, who have also partnered with a lot of independent software vendors who can bring on board all the solutions which is available and be a one-stop shop for you. Student-led empowering solutions is very key. What's happening in the world today? Data transfer, a lot of data is being generated. So transferring data is essential. Using smaller changes, like using a normal USB type A to a type C, makes a difference. Type C technology gives you high data transfer speeds. Go with the latest generation, 8 generations or about technologies in terms of processing capacity. You would have flexibility, choose between Chrome operating system or a Windows operating system. Use something which is trusted and proven. Microsoft and Google alike are bringing a lot of programs to you for flexible learning solutions. Freedom to collaborate. The devices should be able to sync wirelessly or with wire through your external displays or projectors or any other things, using 2-in-1 mode, Type C connectivity, giving you more battery backup. So smaller things within the device makes significant difference. So invest on those smaller things. Two-in-one devices, in fact, today gives you more flexibility to use it like a laptop or a tablet, scribble on the tablet, convert it to a digital text, and then you upload it into a cloud or any other learning platform. You should look for devices which are tested for durability and engineered for endurance. Spill resistant keyboards. It's all about students and people who are not really a corporate professional who are using these machines. So they have a habit of spilling liquids, spilling dropping the laptops or dropping the PCs, and most importantly, scratch-proof displays. Very good performance displays. So spill resistance, rubberized edges, which impacts the physical damages, and Corning Gorilla Glass kind of technology. These are absolutely essentials today in your device selections. Most importantly, they have to be serviceable. You cannot buy a device which is not serviceable. Serviceability is absolutely key. The devices should have tens of thousands of hinges cycle tests. We call them in the PC world, in the PC manufacturer side, we call them military grade tested. Yes, not just for military, but for your students as well. So tens of thousands of hinges cycle tests because they keep folding the laptops back and forth, back and forth, back and forth again. They keep dropping the laptop. They just throw away their backpack somewhere. So flexible learning solutions needs to have tested, rugged, and enduring devices. Ecosystem is any part of learning productivity. It's one of the key things. It's just not about the device. How do you facilitate more and more interactive solutions? If you have a big screen touch screen panel with an interactive mode like a conference monitor or something, it makes your collaboration between multiple students or between the faculty and the students even more easier. Charging cards can be deployed across your institution. Imagine that today students are bringing in, but you can't provision electrical sockets across your institutions tomorrow. Today they have all bought it. Tomorrow they would like to carry it back to your institution's campus. You need to provision something like a charging cards, laser projector, stylus pen where you can scribble on the tablet, on the screen of a two-in-one, converted to digital text. Wireless capacities, good audio headsets, which are tested for Skype or your Teams or Google Suite or Zoom, whatever it is, which is tested and certified, so that no student falls back stating that I have a problem, I'm not able to hear, or the teacher is not listening to what I'm saying, right? And a good backpack as well. So ecosystem is an integral part for learning productivity. That's the key thing which I want to discuss with you today, what to keep you in mind. Just to quickly summarize, most importantly, what you need to look at it is what's the deployment solution which can be automated, moving into modern deployment. What are the security things which I can enhance within the devices, which is absolutely key, and who is a trusted partner today, where I can fall back on support services, also on end-to-end IT deployment. So you don't have to worry about anything, but you fall back on that one solution partner who can give you everything in terms of the right device, right technologies, right solutions, and the right support throughout the lifetime. Thank you for taking your time out today to listen to me of what is very key in terms of learning productivity solutions. And I would be glad to take some of your questions now. Okay, I'm back to here.
Yes.
Right.
Very nice presentation, Praveen sir. So here are some questions. First of all, Praveen sir, that you have talked about regarding the investment in technologies in the education. So can you elaborate that regarding this investment part?
So investments should not be just about getting a device to connect to a meeting room. The investment can also be extended tomorrow. For example, how do I say distribute project works, let the project works come tomorrow, and the students are able to present tomorrow. So your ecosystem investment within the office also is within your campus basically also is very, very important, right? It's just not about laptops. And the most important thing is you need to make investments which could come out of the box, not negotiating with so many multiple vendors. That's very, very important.
Yes.
You don't probably are not the right expert to negotiate with so many vendors. So
Yes, sir.
bank on one trusted partner who can actually help you and educate you that this is what you need, this is what you need to adopt, and also look at flexible solutions. Today, you might deploy in a smaller scale, but that solution should not end up as a rip and replace solutions after 2 years when you grow. It should have seamless growth path. It could possibly you deploy a solution for 500 packs or a 500 students solution. And you want to bring it up to your higher education, you want to take it out to your other colleges or other institutions which are dependent on you. Everything needs to talk to each other. Look out for open standard investments, right? Open standard technology is absolutely important. Ask any vendor who comes up to you and ask him, is it proprietary? Can I integrate it with any other third party software? That is very important. Ask for open standard solutions. And as I already said, look at an industry player like Dell Technologies who can help you to identify and actually adapt to that, right? So investment should be made not just on the endpoint devices, but also in your campus infrastructure of more collaborative. Now, people have realized that when they do technologies implementation, the students' productivity has superbly increased. Students have now got the confidence capacity to do presentations, right? They could seamlessly do project presentations, and you're preparing them for the world which is ready for them, right?
Perfect,
So
sir.
that's,
So
that's important.
I request all the educators that Praveen sir has just raised an important point that trust on the experts only. Don't navigate to various proprietors or any vendors. So trust to the experts. So this is a one of important point, and I request all the educators if you want to catch offline, you can take the offline question with the Praveen sir also. My next question with the Praveen sir that remote education is a major challenge, and in the starting of the presentation, you have just mentioned no longer remote solution. So how you are elevating this challenge, and what is the main features that you want to take from the Dell technologies to cater this remote education challenge?
I would say, as you rightly mentioned, and I was talking about this earlier, it's no longer going to be only remote.
Yes.
Tomorrow you might have a rainy day, right? You may declare school a holiday, but you would still want to continue the classrooms from where the students are based on. So now what it's become essentially is a flexible learning solution, right? So look into those features specifically where you have common standard. For example, if I have to say talk about videos, right? Videos needs to be now more standard on HDMI technology or a Type C technology. So the ports which you use should be bare minimum HDMI, right? And most importantly, as I said earlier, the devices should have good performance, good technologies, and self-healing one. The most common issue in any remote deployment or a flexible workplace is something happens to the device. Who's going to do that support services?
Yes, yes, this is a major
Right?
concern.
Absolutely. So you need to have machines and software systems which recognizes the issues even before it happens. So AI and ML technologies, along with some of our solutions like Support Assist or Dell Pro Support, for example, it will know that the hard drive is going to fail after 10 days. It's already on the verge of failure, right? So you don't necessarily have to wait for it to fail and then 2 days you're out of the device productivity, somebody replaces it. So it goes for understanding the troubleshooting automatically. It triggers a mail to the Dell technical support, and the support engineer will check the messages and send a replacement part automatically wherever you want it to be. The student doesn't even realize that something is happening in this laptop, and in fact, we have prevented it before the failure could happen. So support system, proactive and predictive one is very, very important. That's the main, and that's one of the key things for it. And of course, modern deployment, as I said earlier, you place an order, we directly ship it to the end user. You don't have to worry about anything. When he switches on the PC, everything is ready for him.
Thanks, Praveen. Thanks for raising out this point. So I request all the school, higher education, the school dignitaries who are watching us and watching and noting down the Praveen sir points. So there is a proper solution for the remote education. So if any person who is running their higher education institute in the remote area, so we have a Dell Technologies is providing the Dell Pro support that is led by the AI and the automations. So I think you must go to for the Dell solutions to have avail the all the challenges that you are facing in the remote education. So Professor, my last question to you: what are your future plans regarding this to cater this digital education? Because post-COVID things has been changed. So how you are looking after this market? That how this education industry is going to be work out in this digital domain?
Uh, Thank you so much. That's a brilliant question. And in fact, we are now, as a country, investing a lot in terms of developing skill sets, right? As you can see, the Make in India push, Atmanirbhar concept, which
Yes.
is coming in, being self-reliant, is actually driving more skill sets requirement. So technical education is absolutely key. So Dell Technologies has already envisioned this. In fact, we've been talking to several leading technical institutions already. It's that hey, these are something solutions which is ready, and you can get your students prepared when you, especially when they are in higher education and if they are going into pre-university or already in their university levels. For example, now modern devices come with augmented reality concepts. You can have virtual reality compatible devices today. People in lot many education and technical institutions perhaps are dependent on it because manufacturing is even becoming modernized. IT is becoming modernized. So you get the students to prepare for the world which is there outside by your own local infrastructure. And we have good technical machines, workstations which you can deploy into your lab where you can have virtual reality experience. We give you virtual reality classes. Students can not only just learn theoretically, but also experience them virtually, right? So I think that is going to be the next big step. Having VR, AR, AI, machine learning capacities right into your labs, right into your students' devices, and right into your classrooms as well, right? So we spoke about interactive monitors, how three people can come together, draw something over their creative solution, right? And that can be streamed live also. So that's the technology, and it's already in your doors today. We would be glad to help any of the institutions. If you want to hear more about how you can get the teaching, technical teaching to the next level, we'll be most happy to assist you.
Perfect, sir. And thank you, Praveen. Thank you for giving out your precious time to us. And I request all the educator, all the audience that have listened to Praveen. So if you have any question, if you want to avail the solution of Dell, we have a team, we have a expo area of Dell Technologies. You can drop your query directly to the Dell and they will assist you in any manner. We have a one feedback form also from the Dell Technologies. I request all audience to fill that feedback form and our team, Dell Technologies team, will get back to you and will help out in any manner. So thank you, Praveen. Thank you for giving out your precious time and best wishes for the future endeavors. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abhishek, and it was my pleasure addressing this audience today. Take care.
Thank you. So I request, yes, Deepak, you can play the AV and we will move on to our next panel discussion. Thanks, Deepak.